and welcome to another episode of Brooklyn's World. In this episode I thought that I would change things up a little bit. I've got on my chef's clothes and I wanted to speak about lupus, fibromyalgia and cooking, and at the same time make one of my absolute favourite recipes, brookies. I had a lot to say about this topic, but the easiest way for me to be able to get all of the information across that I wanted to say was just go straight to my cookbook that I developed about 3 years ago. Here it is. The foreword in this sums up everything perfectly. Really? Really? Okay, let's try again, shall we? I thought that I'd just read out a few passages from the foreword of my cookbook because this sums up the connection between fibromyalgia and how I got into cooking. I am in pain daily, but over the months and experimenting with many types of medications and therapies to help me manage the pain, I discovered that cooking helped me, especially with the pain in my hands. The process of cooking, the stirring, cutting, pressing actions whilst making a dish seems to make my hands better. Plus, I had a tasty treat at the end. This seemed like a much nicer thing to do than take painkillers and was a lot cheaper than pain therapy medications. Lupus and fibromyalgia also come with a symptom of lupus and fibro fog, also known as brain fog, which basically is a name for cognitive impairments that appear with lupus and fibromyalgia. They can include concentration and memory problems, difficulty in expressing yourself, and confusion. Having to concentrate on following a recipe or developing a new version of a recipe seem to reduce the impact the fog creates for me. I like to be able to take a recipe and adapt and experiment with it to make it Brooke friendly. With cakes or slices recipes, I didn't want to be messing around with them. I didn't want to be fluffing around with all different equipment, especially things like mix masters and creaming butter and sugar, when I have discovered that if you adapt recipes just a little bit, you actually don't have to do that. You literally can just dump all the ingredients into a bowl, give it a bit of a mix, put it in the oven, and then voila, and you'll see a great example of that when I show you how to make my brookies recipe. Now I need to make sure that I have preheated the oven to 180 degrees Celsius. Ta-da! So let's get started. So the first thing that I have in my bowl here is 200 grams of plain flour. Now to the plain flour, I just add 80 grams of brown sugar. I then add 150 grams of melted butter. I add in a little pinch of salt and basically just give it a good stir, and that is basically all that we have to do. You just give it a bit of a stir and this will end up being the base of the brookie, and this is the biscuit or the cookie base. So after you do that, basically it turns into what looks like cookie dough. You then add in 125 grams of chocolate chips and give that another bit of a stir. So all that I'm doing here is just incorporating the chocolate chips into the cookie dough, and so basically you're ending up sort of like a chocolate chip cookie mix. So once that is all mixed together, and then so it's sort of looking like this. I have washed my hands, everybody, I promise. You can get your hands in there just to sort of squish it all together a bit more. And then you get just a tray. I've just put some baking paper in there. I tip all of the cookie dough into the tray. Which at the moment looks like one big old mess, and I basically just flatten it all down. I'm just giving that a press into all of the corners so we've got an even base. It only takes not too long. All the chocolate chips are in there. So basically we come out with a base that just looks like that. And that's the first part done, as easy as that. Okay, so on to the second part of the recipe. Now this bit is for the top, which is the brownie part. Okay, so on to the second part. This is the brownie component. Okay, so on to the second part. This is the brownie component. Now with this you can just use the same bowl that you have just made the cookie dough in. I'm not a big fan of making a lot of dishes because that means that then I have to wash them and dry them and put them away, and I don't really like doing that. So you can use exactly the same bowl. You can just give it a quick little wipe out if you need, but the way that the cookie dough is, it really doesn't leave much residue in the bowl at all. So to start with this, I have 200 grams of melted dark chocolate, and to that I am going to add 125 mils of melted butter. I'll just give that all a bit of a stir around together, and it looks like one giant awful mess. Really does not look very pleasant at all. So that's what we are looking at, just a big old mess really. So to that I will be adding 200 grams of sugar. So just put some sugar in there. And then we just give that a bit of a mix, and then that starts to make it look, well, a little bit better anyway. So just give that a bit of a stir just so it's all joined together. It's still not looking the most loveliest thing, but we are getting there. I'll now add in just a little pinch of salt. That helps to bring out the chocolate flavour. I don't know who discovered that, but I'll go with it because it seems to work. Now to this, the next thing I'm going to add is 3 eggs. So you just pour all of them in all at once. Break up the eggs a little bit. Give it a really good stir because the eggs don't really seem to like being incorporated into the mixture, but if you keep trying, you will get there. Okay, so now we have a very runny chocolate sort of liquid batter. The next thing that I will add is 3 tablespoons of cocoa powder. So you just dump that in and give it a stir. And when that is all combined together, I just get 125 grams of plain flour, and that just gets dumped in. And again, just give that a bit of a stir. And that's it to the brownie batter. That's all there is to it. Nice and easy. Okay, so now we have a nice, thick, gooey brownie batter. And all that I am going to do with that is get the cookie dough that we made just before. And all I do is pour this batter straight over the top of the cookie dough. So that's what we are looking at now, and then this just goes straight into the oven and that cooks for about 30 minutes. Okay, so it has been about half an hour, maybe a little bit longer, so let's get these brookies out of the oven. Looking good. And here we have them, lovely and cooked. Now I've just got to wait for them to cool. So the brookies are nice and cool now, so I'm just going to cut them up and let you see what they look like. So here we have the finished product, and as you will be able to see, we have the biscuit on the bottom and then the brownie on the top, and these are delicious, and I hope that you give them a try. Even with the little tricks that I have found, I'm still not cured. I take each day as it comes, but I do have to remind myself regularly throughout the day that there's nothing wrong with the parts of my body that are hurting. It's just my brain being a little bit confused. But I won't give in to fibromyalgia and everything else that comes with it. I have no choice. I can't just stay in bed all day, so I will continue to be a lupus and fibromyalgia warrior. Thank you for watching this video, and I really hope that you give making brookies a go. You won't be disappointed.